Have you been craving a cold plunge, but you're stuck in a tiny apartment with absolutely no backyard? Me too. But luckily, I have found a creative way to make it work, even in the tightest of spaces. It didn't go down to 32, but I'm not mad about I'm not mad about that. I am not mad about that. That's wickedly cold. I don't know. Dopamine. Okay, I can do this. We can do this. We got this. What's up, friends, and welcome back to the channel. So today, we are diving deep into the world of at-home cold plunges, which, let's be honest, is kind of turned into the wild, wild west of the health industry. I mean, we've got everything from the ultra-luxe Morzoka Forge, aka the creme de la creme of cold plunges, that comes with a price tag that might make your wallet shiver. And then we've got stuff that's middle of the road, like the ice barrel, which is sturdy and effective and perfect for those who prefer a vertical chill, but let's not forget the heaps of ice that it needs. And then, of course, we come to these new kids on the block, the portable and inflatable tubs that come with chillers, all around or under $1,000. Now, I kind of saw this coming a couple years ago because the demand for affordable cold plunges, it's been skyrocketing. It's funny because it's kind of playing out just like the massage gun industry a couple years ago, with lots of white labeling and overseas imports. But at the same time, I'm not totally knocking it. In fact, I think it's about time for the cold plunge market to get a little bit of a shakeup. So more competition hopefully means better prices for all of us. But here's the real question I have. How do these budget-friendly options really stack up against the competition? And are they suitable for any living arrangement? People are gonna think like I'm a Jeffrey Dahmer or something when they come in my bathroom. This is kind of creepy. Plus, is dropping $1,000 on one of these actually a smart investment for your health? Well, to answer those questions and a lot more, I've been putting the new Recoverfun Cold Plunge to the test, and I can't wait to share my full experience with all you. So stay tuned as I'm gonna answer all of that and talk about how it compares to my experience with the ice barrel. Now, you might remember the ice barrel setup, which I had a year ago. It was super quick since it's kind of basically ready right out of the box. But man, getting that thing through my front door, well, that is a story for another day. But coming back to the Recoverfun pod, and well, first off, it is way more doorway friendly, but everything you need comes in just 2 boxes. One for the tub itself, and then another for the chiller. So when you open all the boxes, getting the tub set up, it is pretty easy. All you really have to do is pop in the support poles, grab the pump that comes with it, and then start inflating, much like you would a beach ball. The chiller, though, it's got a bit more going on with a few extra bits and bobs and all these things, but don't let that scare you. It is pretty straightforward, and I am not a tech whiz at all. You know, I love paper manuals so much. But it really only took me a couple minutes to assemble after I figured out that I was putting the wrong hoses in the wrong places. Anyway, just a little tip from me to you, do yourself a favor, and despite my dislike for manuals, definitely you want to skim through that first, because knowing where to connect those hoses from the get-go will definitely spare you a lot of time and confusion later on. You're going to want the longer tube, which is on the left side, to go on the top, and then the shorter tube to go on the bottom. Cool, I think I got that. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of the Recoverfun pod, including its design and materials. So this pod is actually boasting a hefty 7 layers of insulation, including a mix of thermal insulated TPE and aluminum foil. So some serious stuff for keeping the cold where it should be and keeping the heat out. Plus, it's also topped off with a thermal lid of the same kind of beefy thickness, not to mention an all-weather cover that's ready to take on both the sun and the rain. But if you're putting it inside, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, about the size, and they say it can fit anyone up to 6'7" pretty comfortably. Now, I haven't personally tested that yet, though I'm looking for volunteers. I'm 5'7", I felt great in it. It kind of felt like the ice barrel. And again, it's got that nice vertical position, so it was pretty cozy in there. Cozy might be an overstatement, but here is the real kicker, and this is a game changer for me, for sure. This thing actually fit in my bathtub. All right, no one said this was gonna be glamorous. Sure, it might not be the most elegant setup, being in my bathtub and all, but there was a little bit of solid logic to it. Because you see, I live in a top floor apartment, and well, the last thing I want to do is flood my downstairs neighbors with 700 pounds of water. Kind of reminds me of the ordeal I had with the ice barrel last year on my patio. That was kind of a logistical nightmare. I mean, trying to fill and drain that. It ended up involving multiple hoses, way too much time, way too many trips to the hardware store. So learning from that, I figured, hey, the bathtub could be a safe and practical spot for both filling and draining this new Recoverfun pod. And surprisingly, even though a lot of my hypotheses don't work out, this one actually did. But that being said, there are a couple of things that you're gonna wanna keep in mind if you are planning to go down this route. To start, you definitely wanna make sure you position the pod so that the knobs are actually facing the shower drain. I know, sounds super obvious, but guess what? I missed this doing the first time. And let me tell you, after there is 700 pounds of water in there, draining it kind of turned into a bit of a disaster. So there's that. And then you're also probably gonna need a sturdy extension power strip, ideally one with a surge protector, because the cords that come with it, they aren't super long. And then I would only recommend that you do all of this if you have a second shower to use. With my first attempt at setting all of this up, it was a bit of a flop. Despite adding salt and throwing 15 pounds of ice into it, fiddling with the settings, switching the hoses around, and then even moving the chiller away from the pod to minimize the heat interference, well, for some reason, the water just wouldn't get colder than 55 degrees Fahrenheit. 62.1, it's not terrible, but we need to make it a little bit colder. And I also noticed that the filtration system, that also wasn't kicking in. I knew something was off. I reached out to the company for some help, and here's what they ended up telling me. If the filter isn't doing its job, you'll notice this pretty easily, you need to open up the pressure relief valve between the air pump and the filter. That guy right there. So that apparently needs to be turned on, and then a little bit of water should come out. Once I did that, the filtration, it started running perfectly, and it's been fine ever since. It's actually filtering! Ah! Definitely important to have this running properly, because keeping that water circulating is going to help maintain the colder temperature. And then another quick note about the chiller, it's actually got this energy saving feature where it silently goes into standby mode once it hits your desired temperature. And then it lets the water warm back up around 3 to 5 degrees before cooling it down again. Also note, it might actually take a while to get to their desired temp, like 15 hours or so. So keep that in mind when you are getting your tub set up, because it won't just be like, I fill it up with water and jump right in. I mean, you can, but. Now, they suggest keeping the chiller around 41 degrees or higher so that it keeps running smoothly. But, you know, I was curious to see if it could reach 32 degrees in my 70-degree bathroom. Yes, 39 degrees. Okay, that is freaking cold. It didn't go down to 32, but I'm not mad about, I'm not mad about that. I am not mad about that. That's wickedly cold. And you know the funny thing, looking back a year ago, I had this like full cabin sauna and an outdoor ice barrel, and oh my God, I was so obsessed with my daily fire and ice routine. But life took a turn, and so I downsized to a smaller place, and I really thought with that, I had to give this up as well. But guess what? I didn't, and it's still possible for you too, because I've been doing it with my portable Sunlight and Solo, and now this new Recoverfun pod. That was amazing. Oh my God. It's also insane to watch your heart rate go from 151 in the sauna to like 98 within a matter of seconds. I mean, sure, it takes a little bit more effort to set it up and break it down, but for me, it's totally worth it because of just how great it makes me feel every day. So what then could all of this mean for you as a potential buyer? And well, I would first start off by asking yourself how much you need those daily plunges in your everyday routine. I mean, whether you're going for the full setup or the portable option, you gotta be ready to shell out some cash. I mean, it's gonna be at least $1,000 plus some ongoing expenses, probably for ice and electricity, etc. But if it is something that boosts your well-being and makes you feel great all the time, then hey, that might be money well spent. But for those who might still be on the fence, they kind of want to dip their toes in, but they're not sure yet, then I'd say try it out before making a big investment. So you could start off by buying a few bags of ice and doing cold plunges in your bathtub every morning, just to see if it's something that you're gonna stick with. Alternatively, I mean, if you live in a colder place like New York in the winter, I mean, you could just try stepping outside in shorts and a t-shirt for a couple minutes a day and really embrace that natural chill of winter. But regardless, I think it's a good way to get a feel for the experience before you invest a lot of financial commitment into it. But if you're one of those people who is already pretty dead set on getting a tub, I was one of those, then I'd say the next thing you're gonna wanna consider is, do I actually have the space to fill and drain it easily? If you've got the space, then you're in luck, because there are several options available on the market, depending on your budget. And again, I have to say, I am pleasantly surprised with how the Recoverfun turned out. Definitely measure your bathtub first just to make sure it's gonna work. But yeah, this was a great option for me. Though I probably would steer clear of the Recoverfun if you're gonna keep it outdoors and it gets a lot of snow. It's not exactly the most durable option out there. So for any places that gets a lot of snow during the winter, I think something like the ice barrel might be a better fit. I mean, that one is made from non-toxic recycled plastic, and my God, that thing, it's a beast. Super, super sturdy. And if aesthetics, space, and budget aren't major concerns for you, well, then there are a lot of higher end options out there. There's the Plunge, there's the Renew, there's the Forge. But just keep in mind, those range from $5 to $20K. So it is a little bit of a financial commitment, but they are some of the top of the line, and it's a reason why you'll see them in a lot of those biohacking and wellness facilities these days. But coming full circle back to the initial premise, and yeah, I still do believe the cold plunge industry, it kind of still is a little bit of uncharted territory, a Wild West of sorts. I mean, there is a lot of experimentation and a mix of different approaches, and there's not really a lot of standardization yet. I'm sure it's coming, but we haven't really seen it. So navigating through all of this, it's fun. It's also exhausting, but I personally am very optimistic, and I'm excited to see how things evolve in the coming year and years, especially as we see more of these budget-friendly options starting to emerge. So stick with me. I will continue to try my best and review anything else that fits in my bathtub, or if I get a bigger apartment, hopefully a backyard. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. All the links and discount codes and all that stuff, it will be in the description below. And until we meet again, I cannot wait to catch you on the next one.